Yo, back when I first started making these MonsterVerse Madness videos in preparation for GXK, I had the spoiler review for the film planned for like a week after the movie maximum. I wanted to capitalize on the film hype and everything. And now the film has been out for, actually as of yesterday, I'm recording this on May 30th. It's been out for over 2 months, and it looks like it's going to finish its box office run either right under Skull Island, or like if this weekend it makes like an extra 2 million, it's going to beat Skull Island and it's going to be the highest grossing MonsterVerse movie. I would love for that to happen, but it looks like it's probably going to end up second place, which is fine. Either way, the movie made so much money. Just so much. And it's on digital now, so, I have access to the footage, which makes me kind of glad that I waited. And it's about to be on Blu-ray in like 2 weeks. But I guess it's better late than never. Not only has it allowed me to watch the movie a total of 5 times now, 3 times in theaters and twice rewatches at home, but it's allowed, any recency bias or anything to subside as much as possible. But anyways, Godzilla X Kong, Godzilla Kong, whatever, the new empire is the latest entry into the MonsterVerse, the biggest, grandest that it's had in such a long time, and arguably the most divisive in the entire franchise, way more than King of the Monsters, actually. This film has literally put a split down the fan base since the moment the trailer got revealed. And the latest entry is once again helmed by GVK's Adam Wingard, which actually makes the second time that he has directed a MonsterVerse film, making the first time in history that a director has came back to direct the very next film in this series. Since then, he has announced that he will not be coming back for the sequel. I'm hoping that means it's not actually a Godzilla Kong team-up movie for the next movie, and it's a Godzilla solo film, but I have a whole video on that I just released. If you want to go watch that, there'll be a card pop up there. But enough about that. Let's take a look at GXK. We've been meaning to for such a long time. I was looking forward to this film like no other. I was so hyped for this film when it was about to come out. So yeah, welcome back to MonsterVerse Madness. We open up in Hollow Earth just a few years after the end of GVK. I believe in the novelization they said it was 2027, but they did not give a year in the film. As we see now, the Hollow Earth is Kong's new domain, but he is not the top dog as he's being chased by this pack of these ugly wart dog things. They're actually called wart dogs, by the way. No pun intended there, as he literally picks up one of the wart dogs and rips it in half over top of himself, bathing himself in green blood on some prey predator type stuff, which scares away all the dogs. And God, is this what the kids call raw? Because this scene was raw. After that, we see the ever so mischievous Doug get his cameo. I wish it was a little bit more than this scene, but the fact he's even in the movie, glad my boy got some rep. But he shows his true power as he steals Kong's food. And he's big as hell. I did not know Doug was this big. I was under the impression he was like a baby, tiny. But after finding out that Kong has an infected tooth, oh no, buddy got a cavity. We hear what sounds like the roar of another Kong off in the distance, pretty much identical to Kong's roar. Kong goes off in search of this potential other member of his species, only sadly to find out it's this ugly frog thing called the parrot frog that just mimics him. Shame. Over the opening credits, we learn that Kong has been on the daily searching for more of his kind down in Agartha, and how the Godzilla Kong situation has developed since GVK. Kong stays below, Godzilla stays above, and as long as they don't cross each other's paths, everything should be fine. We then see Scylla again for the first time since King of the Monsters, sporting a wholly superior design. But as she runs around terrorizing Rome, spraying webs everywhere. I guess she has a similar silk spewing ability as Mothra does. This wakes up Godzilla, and boy is he pissed. This is just the beginning of Tweakzilla, bro. Just the beginning. He pulls up to Rome and he just absolutely bodies Scylla, giving her the most supreme ass whooping. The spirit of Final Wars Godzilla just possessing him as he just jumps in the air, only to stab her in the face with her own claw while giving her the female Muto treatment with the kiss of death right in the mouth, exploding Scylla into a bunch of goop like a Bowel Titan from Helldivers before Godzilla just lets off the most insane victory roar, which transitions us right into our title card. If you read any of the MonsterVerse comics, you know Scylla has had this coming. She was not innocent. She poked the bear too many times. She got what she deserved. I'm sorry. I wish we got to see more of it in film, obviously, but We go back down the Hollow Earth. The seismic activity is detected in Kong's hunting grounds, which is not supposed to happen. Before a mysterious signal not only shows itself on these LCD screens, but on the seismometer, or seismograph, I think it's a seismograph. And above the ground, we see Dr. Andrews, who is also being shown this exact same signal by a new character, Director Hampton. We then jump to Barbados to see Gia in a private monarch school. I don't know why that's a thing, but okay. As she zones out in class, which is so relatable. Before having visions of snow falling around her, briefly seeing foreshadowing of the Pyramid Egypt fight later on in the film, and seeing the same signal and the entire film in the span of like 0.5 seconds, before she is snapped out of it by her teacher, and we see that she drew that signal on her desk. She was tweaking in front of her whole class too. They think she's crashing out. That's sad. It's so sad. After coming to pick her up, we find out that Andrews basically has adopted Gia as her daughter, like her actual daughter. And we go back with her to her home as we get a glimpse of the storm that actually caused Skull Island to be completely uninhabitable. The very one that wiped out the whole Iwi tribe. And I'm really glad that we got some acknowledgement of that. I'm glad that we got to see a scene from it. After looking at the piece of paper that Gia drew the scribbles on, and then looking at the signal from earlier, Andrews puts two and two together and realizes, hey, this is that signal. And at the same time, down in Agartha, we see this guy somehow asleep as giant footsteps just rumble the place. Before on this monitor, we see the eye of a mysterious titan. I mean, we all know who it is, but suspense. And after Gia has another vision of the upcoming film as a whole, Andrews heads out to Miami to recruit old Bernie, who has toys of Godzilla and Kong on his desk. They have toys of the giant monsters that kill billions of people in this universe. Okay. That's concerning. Andrews and Bernie then discuss the signal as she tells him that she came to him for his outside of the box thinking. I mean, I don't think they've ever interacted before, but then again, you know, they stood within each other's vicinity at the end of GVK, so we'll let it slide. Bernie crashes out about this guy on his blog named Ghidorah Stan 64. Nice Ghidorah reference, as that is the year that he debuted in film, but like, why would you stan the giant golden dragon that just about killed the entire planet? I don't get it. I just don't. Godzilla stan would be understandable, or Kong stan, but like, oh my god, I don't even. And convinces Andrews of allowing him to go down to Hollow Earth for the sake of his podcast before learning that, oh, our boy Godzilla just woke up and he's on the move. Big man wakes up from his nappy time in the Roman Coliseum like a giant pissed off cat. They've since, after the films came out, said that the reason that he picked the Roman Coliseum was because it reminds him of the temple from King of the Monsters, which I absolutely love that detail. Absolutely need to get a Roman Coliseum that scales with the Haya there. Absolutely need to. As he gets up for his morning stroll, we see him walk through this awesome piece of art drawn by Seaguns with a bunch of Easter eggs on it. Glad his art got featured in the film. Very talented artist. And he jump scares this little helicopter pilot too, which, such an asshole move. I love it. We then see this Hollow Earth portal in this cove open up before Kong emerges with a Titan-sized toothache. This is when we are introduced to, arguably in my opinion, one of the most interesting and fun characters the MonsterVerse has ever done in the human cast, the Kaiju Vet Trapper. As he flies in on what seems to be this just sci-fi spaceship at this point, before pulling out Kong's rotted tooth. The very next scene, he just has the middle tooth. Yeah, I mean, it sounded like Kong woke up after they ripped his real tooth out, but don't think about it too hard. Trappers and Andrew then have a little catching up discussion, talking about their time in college, making it seem like they had a thing going on when they were in college, which I could see. The group is then distracted with Bernie's arrival, where he is yapping about his Discord server. I like him a little bit less now, but he points out that this signal corresponds with specific Titan events and that it's some kind of distress signal. That convinces Hampton to greenlight the Agartha expedition, which Gia just sweet talks Andrews into letting her go with. The team follows Kong into the portal once again in just a sci-fi looking ship. I think this one's a heave though, before we finally get to see the beauty of the Hollow Earth again. At this point, we're also introduced to these weird little bird things that look like the Ikron from Avatar called verticines, and the ship just assumes the color pattern of it. Okay, all right. Above them, Godzilla arrives in France to chow down on some yummy radiation, charging up until he goes pretty much thermonuclear, but blue this time instead of orange, letting off a pulse in just a badass little scene. We go back down into Hollow Earth though, as we see the Outpost 1 has just been massacred, just ravaged. There's blood here. There's literally like limbs of people. Trapper, being a smart fellow, grabs a security camera to rip footage off of to see just what happened here before the group notices this giant bloody handprint on the wall that looks very similar to Kong's, but fingers are too long and everything. Very similar to the one we saw on Skull Island, if you know what I'm saying. We then cut away to our first major sequence with just Kong, as he grabs his now iconic axe from the hiding spot before hearing something off in the distance. He jumps down the cavern that he heard the sound from, his axe illuminating these crystals and everything around him, and showing some other Kong skeletons down in the floor. He hears another sound though just through this waterfall, and as he exits, we are introduced to the Hollow Earth subterranean realm, with giant text letting us know that that's what it is. Real like Lord of the Rings vibes in that scene, I can tell you that right now. He smells something approaching and readies his axe before we see this tall shadow approaching him. But it turns out, oh, it's old Suko, this young little orange Kong. He appears right in front of our Kong. He reaches out to Suko before he just bites him on the finger like a little gremlin and runs away. Suko definitely eats crayons. Kong chases after the young blood before getting jumped by 3 other giant apes. That must suck to think that your entire species is extinct and spend so much of your life looking for them, only for the first interaction for you to actually have with your own species is to get jumped by them. Shame. After scrapping with these apes for a bit, since, you know, Kong is much beefier than any of these apes, they all are very gaunt, Suko jumps in Kong's face like a crab from Half-Life before we get arguably the best scene of this entire film. Kong grabs Suko and uses him as a weapon and beats the hell out of the other apes with Suko and then throws him. I could not breathe. I'm so glad. I had a couple things spoiled for me, but I'm so glad that I didn't get that spoiled for me because, oh my god, my face was red. I was dying laughing. I could not breathe during this scene. Absolutely took me out. Kong then tries to show mercy to this other ape that about falls over this ledge before he immediately, like as soon as he helps him up, tries to stab him and then Sparta kicks him over the cliff. This other more gangly ape runs off, but not before Kong hits him in the head with a rock, which is very funny. After this, we get some absolutely spectacular nonverbal storytelling between Kong and Suko, as after throwing him to the ground, Kong demands Suko to lead him to wherever he came from. Or at least, I assume, since, you know, I've seen the movie, and that's pretty much what happens after this. I'm just assuming that is what Kong was demanding Suko to do. Back on the Heave ship, Andrews and the gang discover that seems to be another great ape on the camera, before some electrical disturbances, assumedly that signal, causes their ship to just tweak out and they about crash and die, but luckily they don't. They touch down after regaining control into this jungle-y forested area in the Hollow Earth, as Bernie vlogs the whole thing rather than enjoying the moment. Like, come on, dude, you're in the Hollow Earth. I get your filming it for your podcast, but like, man, breathe the air, enjoy the moment. And then Trapper lets this Hollow Earth mosquito drink his blood. Very, very stupid. Hollow Earth malaria does not sound fun, man. I don't know why you would do that. And as they go further into the jungle, Trapper senses that they're not alone and that they gotta turn around. And then this guy, Mikhail, that's been with them, pulls out this sensor, doesn't pick up on anything, and then he starts getting pissed off as Trapper starts to insist on it. And Mikhail crashes out in front of the entire crew before getting eaten alive by a giant tree. Rightfully so, for being a little asshole and crashing out in front of everybody. Part of me wants this tree monster to be a Biollante setup, Easter egg, whatever. I want it to be related to Biollante so bad. It's probably not. I want Biollante in the movie so bad, man. Please give us Biollante! Back above the ground, Godzilla is now tweaking out in Spain, bursting at the seams of this neon blue radiation before swimming away. Aboard the 15 Alpha submarine, they observe Godzilla's trajectory and find out that he is headed towards the Arctic Ocean. And it turns out he's hunting Tiamat! She's in the movie! I already knew. I had that spoiled for me. But it makes sense considering Tiamat's lair, her new lair since she got her ass whooped by Godzilla in the comics, turns out to be the largest stockpile of radiation on the entire planet, as it is directly within the line of supercharged solar winds. And if Godzilla goes there and defeats Tiamat, it will allow him to supercharge. Oh no. We come back to Hollow Earth. We do that quite a bit. Seems to be jumping back and forth quite a bit. The gang discovers some ancient iwi ruins before finding this engraving of Mothra. Also another thing I had spoiled for me that she was in this movie, which looks very, very familiar to the teaser image from back when King of the Monsters came out. Then this weird little lightning bug distracts Gia and causes her to push in this stone on the wall, and it causes a bunch of water to flow down this irrigation system, which is very cool, until it runs into this weird fleshy wall. Trapper notices that the water is running underneath the wall and assumes that it's organic and decides to tap it unprotected. No gloves, nothing. Is everyone in this movie just suicidal? Like, gang, that is like one-way ticket to dying, just touching foreign bio wall substance without any sort of protection for your body. Anyways, though, him and Gia rip open the walls before they discover that there's this huge cavernous area that is completely hidden behind this wall with giant crystals and crystalline pyramids. If this isn't setting up Space Godzilla, I'm so gonna be pissed. We catch back up with Kong and Zuko after seeing this huge pack of those warbats from GVK flying in the air. Nice to see them return. They descend further into the Hollow Earth until they come across this huge, beautiful lake region, which you gotta think, a lake for giant kaiju is gonna be huge. That's a very, very big lake. Zuko smells something, and by his facial expressions, I didn't catch on this until like the 4th or 5th time. My dad pointed this out. It looks like he can tell that something's in the water, and he's trying to persuade Kong to get in there. Looks like he's trying to get Kong killed. Suddenly, the Drown Viper appears. This giant eel thing. It's very cool. And you gotta think about how big this thing is too, because it had Kong wrapped up. And Kong engages it in battle, but it seems like Kong is about to get his ass whooped as, Zuko runs off like a little punk. And this is totally reused CGI from whenever the Warbat wrapped him up in GVK, by the way. I noticed that instantly. Not that there's a problem, I noticed it. Zuko runs off before the axe is flung into his direction, lands right in front of him, causing him to trip and fall. And as he gets up, the head of the Drown Viper lands near him, and he's like, whoa. As Kong emerges from the trees looking pretty much unscathed, I want to know how he beat that thing, because like I said, it hadn't completely wrapped up, and he didn't have missiles to help him this time. I think he just locked in. The two sit up on this hill and have one of my personal favorite scenes in just the MonsterVerse period at this point, not honestly any other kaiju movie. As they sit up on this hill and bond over eating the Drown Viper in this wholesome little scene. Definitely God of War 2018 Kratos and Atreus vibes here. I love it so much. We then come back to the Arctic Ocean as we see 15 Alpha approaching Tiamat's lair, which is surrounded by these weird pinkish purple energy strands. Godzilla fires off his beam very close, almost killing the submarine crew. But the beam is fired straight into Tiamat's lair, and he's ready to evict her ass. And right after, we see her emerge from the ice below. I definitely prefer her comics design. I will say that. It's a little bit more unique in my opinion. But I do rock with movie Tiamat. Movie Tiamat design goes hard. And I bet that's gotta feel great for Dope Pope, who designed Tiamat. Goji and Tiamat engage in a rematch under the water, where you think that she would have the advantage. And Tiamat wraps Godzilla up as she had done before in their previous fight, before she uses these weird like fin things that are on her face to wrap Godzilla's face up so he can't breathe. Big mistake, as Godzilla just beams her to death, blowing her into a million pieces. Man, rest in peace, Tiamat. Rest in peace. You will not be forgotten. Now, she also had it coming, just like Scylla, but man, I wish we got at least a little bit more Tiamat before she got embodied like that. That makes me sad. But nonchalantly, Godzilla just swims right into Tiamat's recently vacated crib, and it's his now. It's just his. Down below, the gang comes face to face with a Hollow Earth Iwi civilization. Turns out Gia is not actually the last of her people, and there are more of her kind down below. Huge W for the gang. Huge W. They're taken out to those giant crystalline pyramids before Bernie tweaks out about being able to feel the energy source of them. Andrews then notices some more Hollow Earth vortexes above them on the, would you call it the ceiling of the Hollow Earth? I don't know. I'm just gonna call it the ceiling. Before the leader of this Iwi tribe emerges from within the crystalline pyramid. Bernie just somehow knows that they're communicating telepathically. Okay. Gio then walks up to the leader of these Iwi people. Wait, does she have a name? Hold on. Ah, it's just Iwi Queen. Okay, it's very simple. And after holding hands with the Iwi Queen, she sees visions of Gia's entire past, which we also see, showing us her childhood on Skull Island and all that other stuff, and her bond with Andrews, which in turn gains the Iwi Queen's trust, and she allows all the gang inside. They come face to face with this giant crystal beacon thing. Man, there's so many crystals in this film. No Space Godzilla. I swear to God, in a film or two, they better reveal that all this is because Space Godzilla. They better. But anyways, it is revealed that the Iwi were actually sending that distress signal up to the surface using that giant crystal. We briefly go back with Kong and Zuko as they cross the giant, humongous skeleton. I'm just, for fun, let's just say it's Jormungandr from Norse mythology, because, like I said, I love the God of War games, so let's say it's Jormungandr. But they cross over the vertebrae of this giant beast like a bridge over to this volcanic region of Hollow Earth. Once again, real God of War, Lord of the Rings kind of vibes here with this film. Back with the gang, the Iwi pour this weird phosphorescent liquid into this bowl, which winds up illuminating the entire room, and Andrews proceeds to give this MonsterVerse lore dump. We learn that the Hollow Earth was once in harmony with the surface world before a tyrannical ape led his people to war with the monster that ate a star, the legendary Zozlahawa, and it turns out it's Godzilla. Now, personally, I think this is a case of mistaken identity. I don't think the Zozlahawa is Godzilla. I refuse to believe it until we get a scene of it. Or unless Legendary just outright tells us. But I'm going to take that line with a grain of salt. Totally could be a red herring for Space Godzilla, I'm telling you. Or an original kaiju. One of the two. Allegedly, Godzilla imprisoned the great tyrannical ape and his species down in the Hollow Earth in the fiery realm before we finally get the name drop of the film's villain, the Scar King, which we learn is absolutely obsessed with reaching the surface world to enact his revenge. We then get another one of the best sequences out of the MonsterVerse period as Zuko takes Kong to the domain of the Scar King. Kong is greeted with others of his species. Unfortunately, they're being forced into slave labor. As Kong walks further down, though, we see this one ape is getting bullied by this higher ranking one, and Kong helps the one that's getting bullied up before we get arguably the best meme out of this entire film, the Kong Wojak. That higher ranking ape gets up in Kong's grill and is just like yapping in his face before Kong just stares into his soul, just like, really? Before he just gets knocked the hell out. Just, oh God, it's so funny. This movie's comedy is so much better than GVK's, I'm telling you. That more gaunt ape from earlier that ran away runs up to inform these higher ranking apes that, hey, outsider, not supposed to be here. Before we see the very first shot that was ever revealed of this film, which I am very surprised actually made it into the film. That's a rare thing for movies nowadays. But glad it did. It's a very cool shot. And finally, an hour and 4 minutes into this hour and 55-minute long movie, we get to finally be introduced to the Scar King. He stands before Kong, the other apes, in fear of his ugly ass. There's no other word to describe it. He's ugly. He walks around Kong all just sizing him up, judging him like no other, and he puts his finger in Kong's mouth to see that Kong has a metal tooth and points at it and laughs at it, and all the other apes laugh at it. That is so freaky for him to just stick his finger in there, but we'll learn that Scar is way freakier than you anticipated. Scar about crashes out about Zuko not laughing hard enough at his joke, though, which crazy. Crashing out over a baby not laughing at your joke is insane. Then this other gaunt ape comes up and tries to protect Zuko from Scar, telling him to back off and everything. He looks pissed. He's like, okay. Before he smirks at Kong and then just kicks him into the lava. What an asshole. I love it. This pisses Kong off, rightfully so, as him and the Scar King engage in their first battle, the other apes chanting on. Despite being much larger than Scar King, Kong actually gets his ass beat for most of this fight. Scar is very nimble. Kong temporarily turns the tides of this battle, though. Despite being disarmed, he grabs the whiplash and throws Scar King over him. And it looks like the other apes are about to get involved in this battle before Scar is like, nah, let me get my girl. Before he grabs the other end of his whiplash with this little blue spike on it, and we see it glow as he points it in the direction of this lava fall. The other lesser apes block off this lava fall as Kong is like, What the Sigma? And he looks on in fear as the mighty Shimo emerges, imprisoned in chains made of the vertebrae of other kaiju. So metal. Shimo actually turns out to be an unwilling participant and seems that she doesn't want to attack Kong. But Scar uses this crystal as some kind of telekinetic like shock collar, inflicting so much pain on Shimo that she like digs her head into the ground for a moment before she charges up and fires her ice beam off at Kong. This freezes the axe and Kong's hand, and it flies out of his hand, and I genuinely thought Kong's arm just like broke off for a moment. Before she can fire off her ice beam again, Zuko directs Kong to an exit and he makes his escape. And Scar, like just the little punk that he is, grabs Kong's axe and holds it in the air like he earned it. God, what an asshole, what an asshole. Then back with the humans, we learn of an Iwi prophecy that an Iwi from Skull Island will be the one to resurrect Mothra at the end of the world. Okay. Fairly convenient. We then get an awesome chase scene of Kong running away from the domain of the Scar King as his ape gremlins chase after him. And like a smart cookie, Kong has plenty of traps set up just for this moment, whittling down the apes to a small group of about 5 or 6, I think. These apes aren't completely stupid though, as Kong is in a corner and there's only one trap left, a tripwire, and they notice the tripwire and walk right over it. It looks like Kong is doomed before our boy Zuko begins his redemption arc, triggering the trap anyways and dooming most of those apes. Like most of them are definitely dead. Zuko was definitely trying to get Kong killed or captured before, but now he's our boy. Now he's on our side. Before they walk off though, we see that one of those apes survived, that gaunt ape that got hit in the head earlier. I don't know how he survives, man. That's crazy. We briefly cut away to see Godzilla in ice somehow as he charges up. I genuinely believe that originally he was supposed to get frozen by Shimo, but back below the surface though, the Iwi somehow open the organic wall with like a gear cog thing that they all push. Okay. But they let Kong and Zuko in, which Zuko's existence surprises the entire group because they're like, another ape? What? Kong falls over very clearly in pain, reaching out to Gia as she tells her, I lost home. And Zuko runs off to, I originally in the script wrote to do something, but he definitely was on the lookout for Scar King because he comes back to alert them later. Speaking of Scar King, we jump back to see him atop of his throne eating, I think this looks like a warbat, that surviving gaunt ape from earlier running up to inform him of the secret Hollow Earth area with the portals up to the surface. Before we cut away though, we see that there's a bunch of female Kongs in the back holding baby Kongs, and all the other Kongs are the same color as the Kong we know, but all the babies are the same color as Scar King. I don't gotta say it. I don't even gotta say it. If you know, you know. That's dark. That's so dark. Scar then commands his apes to go to war as he mounts Shimo like a giant horse, and they all charge out of their domain. Oh my god, it's so badass. I don't know how you can look at this movie and not go like, that is raw. That is just raw. We then cut back to fearsome Godzilla as he emerges from the ice, adorning his fresh, new, evolved design. Just, oh man, I love this design so much. I love it. I love it so much. I do not care. It's so badass. I love it. And back with the humans, after inspecting Kong's hand, he decides that, oh, he needs to run off to go get this thing called Project Powerhouse. As Andrews lets us know that Monarch created a prototype upgrade thing for Kong, a mechanical augmentation, if you will, following the defeat of Mechagodzilla. And we briefly see Gypsy Danger's arm. Very fun Easter egg. Not the only Pacific Rim Easter egg in this film, by the way. We then get an awesome scene of Trapper delivering the Beast Glove to Kong as I Was Made for Loving You by Kiss plays. The way this film is edited, this literally happens right after he goes off. I wish there was some stuff that they put in between that to make it look like he spent longer. I've seen a lot of people complain about this part, the way it's edited. I mean, rightfully so. Like, it literally happens right after he runs off, but there are people acting like bro literally just teleports there, grabs the glove, and then comes back. Obviously, that is not what happens, but the way the film is edited would lead you to believe that. We also then briefly see Scar, Shimo, and the ape army slowly approaching. Kong gets back up as the glove has been installed onto his arm, adrenaline injected, allowing bro to get back up fully recharged as he punches the ground, showing that this glove has some electric capabilities. A very awesome callback to the Showa King Kong vs. Godzilla. Zuko then comes back to warn them that Scar King is on his way and is imminent, and Kong decides to run to the surface to get our old boy Goji's help. Emerging in Egypt right in front of the pyramids, Kong roars into the sky looking all just badass with his glove in the air. And this gets Godzilla's attention, who is all the way over in Gibraltar. I don't know how far Gibraltar is from Egypt, but I mean, considering they're giant monsters, our roar is going to be loud anyways. Man, he got his attention. He's definitely not happy to know that Kong is back up on the surface, though, as he dives off this mountain. And what my dad pointed out is probably a reference to the 98 Godzilla as he dives off of this mountain, looking very much like that scene. Back down on Hollow Earth, though, Gia holds her hand up to Mothra, who is cloaked in this weird predator invisibility cloak thing. This awakens Mothra out of her stasis or whatever she's doing. And man, her design is such an improvement. It's so much better. Like, it's not even that drastic of a change. It's just a little bit fuzzier and it's more gold. It's so much better. I love it. And back above the ground, Godzilla pulls up to Egypt, ready to just end Kong's life. Absolutely tweaking out of his mind, hence why I called him Tweakzilla earlier. He charges at him through one of the pyramids, tackling him like a friggin' football linebacker. Before Kong hits him with that pocket sand, he pins him up against another pyramid though before he hits Kong with the kaiju-sized suplex. God, I died when this scene happened, bro. God, I could not believe Godzilla just did a real life wrestling move. That's crazy. Raw, as they say, raw. Kong uppercuts Godzilla in the face and just absolutely lays it into bro, beating the absolute hell out of him. And thinking that he knocked him out, he grabs him by the tail and pulls him towards the Hollow Earth portal. Once again, definitely a reference to the Showa King Kong vs. Godzilla. However, Goji, I think, was playing sleepy and was definitely not having it, as we see him charge up from the tail and fires off his atomic breath, which I don't know how Kong wouldn't notice the charge up sound. I mean, I figured he'd have PTSD from their fight in Hong Kong, but Kong runs around the desert in order to evade the beam as fast as he possibly can, but Godzilla kicks him down to the ground and has him pinned down to the ground, stomping on his chest. Once again, he has a stomping thing. He has a thing for stomping in this universe. Before he's about to just end it all with Kong. He's about to just beam him in the face and just like call it a day. Before he can though, Mothra flashbangs both of them and apparently sends a shockwave that's strong enough to send Godzilla off his feet. We then see Gia and Mothra atop of the Sphinx. I don't know how Gia is there, if she's even there. She may just be like a vision or something. And Godzilla finally has calmed down as he is reunited with his oldest friend. And then we get that sick shot from the trailer of Godzilla and Kong roaring together in Egypt, which is crazy that they scrubbed Mothra out of there. I genuinely cannot believe she got the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man treatment. That is so dope. Back in the Hollow Earth, we see the Iwi pouring this liquid metal stuff into this pool of water in order to cause a chemical reaction that will force the two pyramids together, causing a giant anti-gravity shockwave for a couple minutes. Before that can happen though, the Scar King and Shimo arrive with his army as he commands Shimo to freeze the pyramids. Trapper out a diversion plan though, as he flies directly at Scar King and Shimo in the heave with a bunch of verticines following him, throwing both of them off their feet for a bit. And he evacuates the gang out of there before the final battle can begin. Right as the verticines are all dealt with, we see a beam shoot out of one of the portals as we hear Godzilla's roar off in the distance. Scar looks up and is like, oh god. And right after we get that, oh my god, that peak scene of Godzilla and Kong running straight at Scar King as they emerge from the ground. God, this shot is so iconic to me. I love it. They charge at each other and we get this sick slow motion shot of them all jumping at each other in midair before the anti-grav shockwave hits. And during this battle, Godzilla's just having the time of his life, flying around, just whooping everybody's ass. It's insane. Before he engages Oshima. Scar and Kong are definitely having a harder time in the lower gravity though, and it seems like this other ape is about to kill the humans before Mothra actually does something and like hits bro with the dollar store silk. Except this time the dollar store silk was not from the dollar store. Godzilla is then frozen by Shimo in mid-air before Mothra diverts Shimo's attention, allowing Godzilla to break free, and he just flies at her pissed off. The gravity comes back though, and everyone comes tumbling down. Scar, being such a smart guy, just heads straight for one of the portals. Mothra saves the humans before they can crash land into the ground, and Suko kicks that gaunt ape to his demise. He definitely did not survive that far. I refuse to believe that. He is definitely a red paste. And then Goji, Kong, and Shimo all follow Scar into that portal, Kong losing his axe on the way down. We then go back to above the ground in Rio as we see everything's all chill before things get chill but in a different way as this giant wave freezes over before Shimo emerges from the ocean. Scar emerges right behind her and lands on the beach, and we get just this awesome little moment where Scar just like, he holds his hands up to the sun, just like he's like first time going outside in years. And then the final half of the final battle commences as Scar commands Shimo to begin her new ice age, shooting her beam into the sky and instantaneously like freezing over a lot of Rio. Like, it's insane how fast she can freeze stuff. She is OP. Scar lets off this victorious roar before getting just socked in the face by Kong, getting his payback on Scar for making fun of his metal tooth, as Scar winds up spitting out one of his teeth that Kong knocked out. Godzilla at this time also emerges right beneath Shimo. Goji charges at her as Scar swings off this building, which I am amazed can support his weight, and uses Shimo to knock Kong out of the air after Kong kicks him. Shimo charges at Kong before Godzilla just tackles her ass, and then Shimo kicks Godzilla just into the air. He flies very far away. Like, Shimo is strong. We then briefly cut back to Zuko down on the hollow earth as he's about to jump in the portal. He sees that Kong's axe is stuck there and jumps onto the axe. Back in Rio, we get that awesome scene of Scar throwing the top of that building at Kong before he punches it out of the air with the Beast Club. Thing is, I'm pretty sure there were people inside that building. So many people died in this final battle, by the way. Just letting you know. Scar kicks Kong into Shimo as she plays with Kong like a freaking chew toy, throwing him around before firing her ice beam at his glove. Scar maniacally laughs, thinking that he is just, he's just gonna body everybody, before we cut to see Godzilla's supercharge hitting a T-pose, bursting at the seams in violent purplish pink radiation, before firing off his beam at Scar King, which looks very similar to the spiral ray from the Heisei era. Scar then makes the biggest mistake of his entire existence by trying to hit Goji with that whip. He catches it in his mouth and just breaks it instantly after slinging Scar across the city. He runs after the now detached crystal, just like Gollum with the ring. He's like, "My precious," as Godzilla hits him with that 2021 Kong treatment. Kong notices the crystal, and Godzilla, being a smart cookie, hits Shimo with that spiral ray to get Kong an opening to go after it. Scar stops him, however, and chokes him out, and it seems like Scar is gonna get the upper hand again, before Zuko runs into the fray with the axe, making the funniest expression on his face before he just jumps in the air and hits the crystal with it, giving us our first ever Titan diversion in one of these battles. I absolutely loved it. Him hitting the crystal causes a huge shockwave and sends all of them flying across the city, but afterwards we see that Shimo's eyes are different. She seems like she's no longer under control. Scar grabs Zuko, mad as hell. He's about to kill him before Kong punches him with his weaker hands, since I'm pretty sure the Beast Glove would probably make even the Frostbitten hand stronger altogether because, you know, the lightning powers. Punches the hell out of him nonetheless, and then grabs him, throws him into Godzilla, who hits him with his tail like a baseball bat, and Kong holds him up in the air as Scar demands Shimo to save him. But she is no longer his slave, and she instantly understood the assignment, as after Godzilla roars at her like, "Do it!" she hits the tyrant ape with the frost beam, freezing him in place, before Kong jumps up on this building and smashes him into a billion pieces, ending the tyrannical ape's reign. We then get a friends come together, kumbaya, we all love each other moment as Kong, Zuko, and Shimo all gather together, looking up at Godzilla as he fires a spiral beam into the sky, undoing Shimo's ice age. Shimo looks up in awe with just an adorable smile on her face. Oh my god, I love it. And then the film ends with a Badfinger song. I love Breaking Bad, and I got on a huge Badfinger kick after the season finale of that show. So, you know, the movie gets extra points for the Badfinger song, absolutely. But anyways, we see the humans all have their little come together kumbaya moment. Mothra seals the weird organic wall back up, and you're telling me Mothra survived the movie? But yeah, Mothra doesn't die in this movie. I love it. I love it. And Godzilla goes back to Rome to have EP time, nappy time. And then we jump back down to the Hollow Earth one final time as we see what was previously Scar's domain as Kong rolls up riding Shimo. The apes look on, knowing that they have been saved from their tyrannical leader's reign, as Kong pets Shimo like a giant cat. And everyone lets off a celebratory roar as Kong is now crowned King Kong officially. End of movie, there's no post-credit scene. Let's get to the review. Just like in GVK, this film is way too short. Should have been way longer than an hour and 55 minutes. It's just enough to make what's here in the film work, but it could have been so much better if it was like, 2 hours 15, something like that. Especially with all the new stuff that we introduced in this film, like, Scar King, Shimo, Zuko, the apes, like all this new lore and everything. Like, it should have been longer. It should have been longer. And with that length issue, that plays directly into the final battle. Now, to clarify, the final battle is from the moment that Godzilla, Kong, Scar, and Shimo begin their fight in the Hollow Earth with the low gravity fight, all the way to the very end is a two-parter final battle. But both parts are decently short, and because they are separated by like just a couple scenes in between, it makes them feel like two distinct fights. I count them as one fight just with two halves, but you know. So yeah, I'm gonna say that the final battle should have been longer. Just as in GVK, the villain Scar King was absolutely underutilized. Same with Shimo. Bro doesn't show up until over an hour into the film. It hurts a little less since his presence is definitely felt all throughout the movie, from like the moment you are introduced to Suko to actually before that, actually, because you get that moment where he like puts his eye up to the camera. But regardless, his presence is felt all throughout the film, I will say that, but it doesn't make up for the lack of screen time. I really wish he got more screen time in the movie. And man, I really wish we got to see a scene of Shimo and him interacting with Godzilla before he had to evolve, which would also make the fact that he evolved make more sense. And like I said, Shimo, very underutilized as well. I think she probably had like 5 minutes of screen time, maybe even 4. I really feel like she was originally going to be the one that causes Godzilla to evolve. I genuinely feel like the fact that Godzilla was encased in ice is no coincidence. It was probably in an earlier draft in the movie or something. I don't know. Once again, Junkie XL score is just like, it's just mid, man. This is mid. It's not terrible. Like, I mean, I think the songs, like when you get to Scar King's Domain, are fine, but like, it's just not, it's not a great soundtrack, not at all. And like his Mothra theme is like just generic, like ethereal music. Please God, get Bear McCreary back, please. And once again, I do wish Godzilla got more screen time in this film, even though, you know, this is a more Kong-centric movie, but you know, it is called Godzilla X Kong. Although I do feel like his screen time in this film is much better than in GVK. Like, it bothers me a lot less here. Also, 2 of the 3 cameo kaiju, Scylla and Tiamat, very underused. Tiamat bugs me the most out of the 2 though. Both of them had it coming, I won't deny that. They both were assholes in the comics. They got what they deserved at the end of the day. But Tiamat was so cool. Tiamat was like, before this film, my favorite legendary original kaiju. So it hurts for her to just show up and just get murked instantly. Like I said, Scylla doesn't bother me near as much though as Tiamat, because I don't really care about Scylla. She's a giant crab thing. But I do wish there was a bit more nuance to it. I wish we maybe got to see like some of those comic panels like in live action. I also find it very weird that Bernie just like knows everything. Like, he just has mind powers. It's weird. Definitely wish there was a bit more nuance to that. And while I don't think Gia just summons Mothra out of nowhere like a lot of people are claiming, like, I mean, you see her, the outline of her body, like with this weird invisibility stuff on it. But I do wish they had a line acknowledging that like maybe like she recently hatched and is like in hibernation stasis to gain power or something. I can definitely see how that confuses everyone, and I feel like they should have at least touched upon that. And while it really doesn't bother me much at all, because many of my favorite movies have spotty CGI, I will definitely say that the visuals here are definitely a downgrade when it comes to the fidelity and everything compared to the past 4 movies. Not too much of a downgrade, because, you know, there's some shots in here that I think are fantastic. I think most of it's the stuff with Kong and the Hollow Earth is what looks great. It's mainly a lot of the shots with Godzilla just look weird, but like, it's not bad. It works for the movie. It's just, you know, like if you pause it, it doesn't look hyper realistic like the other movies did. And I'm not going to be too hard on it, considering the film is like 135 million. It's the cheapest of the 5 movies. It's insane how they pulled that off. All right, that's pretty much all the stuff I didn't really care for about the movie. So let's get into what I loved about this just bonkers movie. Bouncing off of the last point for what I didn't like with the CGI and everything, while the CGI is definitely a lot more inconsistent in this film, I gotta say the visual direction and everything, ooh, love it. I'm usually not one for just throwing bright, loud colors everywhere in films, but I feel like it definitely worked in favor of this film. Even with the shots of bad CGI, this film is just so pretty, just all throughout. It's such a gorgeous film to watch, like just the visuals and everything. Like I said, may not be the highest quality CGI, but it looked good. It looked good. And then the parts with the good CGI, oh my god. Oh, in my opinion, the human cast of GXK is just a huge upgrade over GVK, and honestly is tied for Skull Island for my favorite human cast out of all 5 of these movies. Just as the last film, Bernie and Gia are the standouts for me, and when it comes to new characters, Trapper, Trapper the GOAT. Trapper the Goat. Dan Stevens' performance as Trapper in this convinced me to watch one of Adam Wingard's other movies, The Guest. Absolutely fantastic film. I'll be covering that film eventually one day. Once again, Kong steals the show in this film, but despite the fact it's a Kong-centric film and he's definitely the main character, I feel that everyone got their moment to shine in this at some point. Godzilla's just an absolute tweaker in this movie. I absolutely love it. His personality is just, I'm an asshole, I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. I love it so much. And it definitely makes up for him being a B character in this film. It is so fun every moment Godzilla was on screen. Scar King and Shimo were absolutely great mirrors to Kong and Godzilla in my opinion. Absolutely the two best legendary originals in the entire MonsterVerse in my opinion. Obviously Scar is not the most powerful foe in the MonsterVerse. He's not the strongest villain. I wouldn't even say he's the best villain. But man, he's a good villain. He's a hateable guy. He's just an outright asshole and I loved it. He's literally the Ghidorah for Kong. I'm hoping this isn't the last we see of him though, because it would be such a shame if they, cooked up a very fire villain in my opinion, only for him to only show up in this movie. There's definitely ways they can expand upon him, both post-mortem and while he was alive in his prime. I'm going to do a video covering some of my theories on that, some of my friends' theories on that, so, stay tuned for that. And as for Shimo, I love her. I love her so much. I'm so glad she didn't die in this film, as the MonsterVerse has a tendency to kill off villains a little bit too quickly, in my opinion. And the fact that she actually turned out to be a benevolent kaiju just under mind control the whole time, while I do wish that they explained how the crystal was controlling her in the first place, I think it's just a part of her body is what it is. But yeah, that made me so happy that she actually got to survive the film. She's such a great kaiju, no pun intended. She was too cool to die, and I was genuinely afraid Godzilla was going to kill her, and I'm glad she survived the movie. I don't think we've ever gotten like a ice monster before in these movies, so it's great to finally have that, and for her to be a good guy nonetheless. And I love the idea of her being like a Mothra figure for Kong. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see that dynamic grow. Speaking of Mothra, oh, Adam Wingard, you did it. You made one of my favorite Mothra appearances in film. I don't know how you did it, but you did it. I know how you did it. It's called you kept her alive, but you get what I'm saying. Not only is her design a huge improvement over the King of the Monsters design, which I just thought was a little bit too buggish. It just wasn't friendly enough. She is actually useful in the battles, although I wish she actually got involved in that final battle in Rio. I don't know why she didn't. And she survives the film. God, that made me so happy as a long-time fan, man. God, she's died in so many movies. I've been getting so sick of it. And Zuko is surprisingly awesome. I actually really like Zuko. I thought I was gonna hate him. I thought he was gonna be the modern day Manila, but turns out he's a lovable little guy. I mess with Zuko heavy. Like I've said multiple times, real Norse God of War game vibes with him and Kong. I love the dynamic that they have going. Can't wait to see where they take his character. And all of these kaiju just have absolutely fantastic designs in my opinion. Those Hellhawks do make a brief return, but it's for literally like a split second scene. But I truly rock with every kaiju design in this film. I think every design in this film they cooked. Even the side kaiju, like Tiamat's new design, although like I said, I prefer the comics design, Scylla's design, and the Drowned Viper, they cooked on these designs. This is awesome. The cinematography in GXK, in my opinion at least, is so much more creative than GVK's cinematography. There's some absolutely bonkers shots in this film that I never anticipated I would see in a kaiju film, and just that low gravity fight, man. Oh my god. The humor in this film too, I also found impressively actually funny. I actually found a majority of the jokes landed with me, especially when Kong used Zuko like a nunchuck. Whoever drafted that, thank you. Obviously, Doug cameo. I wish he got a toy. I wish he actually had a role in the movie to do something. But it's cool that he showed up. I'm guessing he's just going to be the meme character that shows up in all these movies for a scene. And he's, like I said, he's way bigger and stronger than we thought. Oh my god. I don't know. He might be able to beat Kong without the glove. I don't know. We'll have to look into that. There are a couple okay songs from Junkie's soundtrack. It's not complete garbage like everyone says, but it's not good. I will say that right now. It is not good. Please, just get him the hell out of here. I don't know why he goes off on the Snyder Cut soundtrack. You listen At the Speed of Force, and then you listen to the GXK soundtrack, and you're like, how is this the same guy? It doesn't make sense. But speaking of songs, all the licensed songs here, they smack. Every licensed song from this film I add into a playlist. My favorites are Twilight Zone by Golden Earring and, of course, Day After Day by Badfinger. I swear to God, whenever the song started playing, I was like, oh, Badfinger, Badfinger. And I love that we got Badfinger rep in the MonsterVerse, especially because, you know, Walter White was in the first Godzilla movie in this series. So, you know, I think that's come full circle. And I really appreciate that as both just a fan of this series, a fan of Breaking Bad, and a fan of Badfinger. And above all, this film feels like it committed to what it wanted to do. And despite being very silly and over the top, it took itself seriously when it needed to, and it had a dark tone when it needed to have it. And they found a way to make Godzilla and Kong reuniting so soon after the last film actually work, in my opinion. At least for me. And I truly love this Goku-Vegeta dynamic that they have going on between Godzilla and Kong in the MonsterVerse. Take notes, Marvel. Take notes. Before we get into the rating, though, I'm going to pass it off to my boy Dagon, just as I did with the King of the Monsters video, and I'm going to let him talk about what he thought of the movie and everything before I give my final rating.
Hey, what it do, baby? It's Dagon again, and I'm so honored and thankful to be on another spacey video. And today we're talking about the newest entry inside the MonsterVerse, Godzilla X Kong, the new empire. And I gotta say, even though King of the Monsters is still my favorite, because it came with the Toho classics, this is the one I had the most fun watching, dog. Nothing but non-stop action. Bro, Adam Wingard really like why I liked Michael Dougherty's King of the Monsters so much is because, you know, he put his own style to that. That was his movie, you know. But, dude, Adam Wingard in this movie, he was like, he had to be on like bath salts, shrooms, and just going down like an abandoned Toys R Us and turned the store on. It was like, yeah, bro, I'm geeking. And just got to writing the script, man. It was a colorful movie. Like, bro, I legitimately went to the theaters and saw that 4 times. 4 times for the 4 for 4. But back to the just, you know, useless, like, rambling. You know, I know what y'all want to hear. Let me start with the heart of the film. That boy Kong. You know what? I was always mid on Kong. You know, it's just a monkey. Like, to me, he's just a monkey. Like, he just gorilla. He just gorilla. Like, you know, he be chilling, he be vibing on his island, but like, he just a gorilla. In this movie, though, he is the gorilla. You feel me? He is that gorilla. You get the drift, bro. By the end of the movie, he takes his rivals home, his kingdom, his son, and his fat white girl. He is that gorilla. You can't stop him. They got him the Doomfist. They put ice on his wrist. He blinked out. You can't with him. He was the heart of the film, man. He had the most like, to see him overall just, you know, we watched Kong grow up. Like, we can't say that about Godzilla. Because if anything, throughout the like entirety of the MonsterVerse, without him having his main girl Mothra, he's just a psychopath. he literally is just like, man, and they don't bow down to me. I'm gonna make them kiss Kong. I hate them. And Kong is just like, bro, I just want a family. And like, Kong was so cool. Like the scene where he's fighting all the apes and he uses Zuko as a baseball bat. Wow, where? I could not do it, bro. Alright, and speaking of Kong, we gotta talk about today's subject. Let's talk about Scar King. Scar King was hard. I'm gonna play Scar King for a minute, bro. His design was cool. I'm so glad we didn't get like another giant like behemoth brawler like this powerhouse. We had that in Ghidorah. We got that in Godzilla. We got that in Shimo. We got that in Ghidorah and Mechagodzilla. Bro, he was an asshole. He was just a scrawny, intelligent person, bro. And I think it's because he was so old, bro. I really think Scar King in his prime probably would have watched Kong, bro. Because we got to consider, like, Kong was born during, like, the 40s, the 50s. Like, he young as hell. Scar King is ancient. He is one of the first apes to really beef with Godzilla. Bro is old and decrepit and lanky and was still giving Kong hands until Kong's big buff ass slammed him like a kid. And then Scar King, I will say the one most disappointing thing about Scar King is every time that boy got in trouble, he was like, well, I'm getting my big fat white girl on you, and I'm into this situation. Not even just his big fat white girl, his big fat white girl with a switch on it. That is not fair. But Scar King just had that personality. He had that enthusiasm to him. Like, one of my favorite scenes of Scar King isn't even him really doing no action, bro. Scar King is literally like holding up the axe in his hand. Like, yeah, I'm him. After just cheating, bro. The thing about it is, it's like Ghidorah is a terraformer. Mechagodzilla is a psychotic death robot that wants to beat the shit out of you. Scar King though? Scar King has plans. He's a legit tyrant. Ghidorah really didn't care unless you was just doing what he told you to do, which was destroy whatever the f was in your way. Scar King, he was like, no. You gotta listen to me and do exactly this and that. That shows Scar King's tyrannical intelligence, bro. He's methodical with it. He can realize he don't got that power no more. He has to use Shimo. He has to use his numbers and he has to use his agility and cunning, bro. And maybe I'm just glazing this red monkey too much, man. I know he smoked Newports. I know he don't see his kids. Matter of fact, the throne scene where that one ape that looked like he has cancer came running into the throne room. You see him eating, and when he throws it to the side, there's female apes holding babies. Red fur babies. So imagine you're a gorilla, bro. You're just one of them giant gorillas. You're one of them Kongs. You have been working for millions of years, just slaving away. You just watch your boss, like, yo, crush. And all you can do is just chill. Like, I'd be pissed. I'd be snitching to Godzilla immediately. I'd be like, hey, Godzilla, he's starting up again. He's starting another army again. I would get down here, bro. He's talking crazy on your name. But yeah, Scar King was cool. It was cool to see him have a weapon. The whip was cold. But again, I just wish they made him more of like a genuine threat besides he was an asshole and he had a brain. Like he could really whoop on him. He just, on that aspect, he was a little underwhelming. And that's one thing I will criticize about. The next one I'll talk about because I really genuinely feel they're the one I at least have to say is Shimo. I wasn't with it. I love the design, but in the story, it's just a dog. They're trying to make it see, ooh, she's locked up and enslaved. Motherfucker, that is a cow. That is a reptilian cow with Sub-Zero power. I'd lock it up too for my own nefarious reasons. Why are y'all blaming Scar King? Shimo was there because they wanted to put Godzilla in the movie for the money. And they're like, well, if we make Godzilla and Kong fight Scar King, the movie's gonna be like 15 minutes because Kong's gonna punch on him really bad and then Godzilla's just gonna stomp the out. What can we do? So I feel like Shimo was just added for that. And like, I get the appeal of Shimo. It's like, yeah, this big new original Titan, the biggest one yet. But to me, bro, it was lame. It was just a really big white dog who was only there to give Kong trouble when Scar King was like, man, nope, white girl, come handle him. Like, nah, Shimo just didn't do it for me, man. But you know who did? You know who did do it for me? You know who almost made me get freaky every appearance? Because I was that hyped? The GOAT! The main man! The king of the motherfucking monsters, baby! Godzilla! Boy, in this movie, he was a monster. Because you know why? They finally made him get off his fat ass and run. You got this big athletic Godzilla coming at you, spearing you through the pyramid. Boy, he suplexed Kong. Because Kong thought it was sweet. That's for help. Godzilla in this movie was teed up. Like, since like Godzilla versus Kong near the end of Godzilla X Kong, bro, is just the best way to describe it is like when you go to the bar and there's that big motherfucker who's always drunk, always like schizophrenically angry and picks a fight with everybody until his wife calls him and be like, you need to calm down, they're gonna kick you out, you need to come home. And Godzilla's just like, okay, I miss my girl. That's the whole reason he even teamed up with Kong, bro. It's because Mothra came. I will say Kong put the hands on him. Kong did knock him out for a little bit, but I wouldn't say he won. I say he won the round, but he would never have won the war. And like, the way Godzilla is in this movie, he's just like, this is the most powerful I feel like Godzilla's been in a minute. Because, yeah, like, if we really genuinely think about it, like, bro, look what he did to Scylla. Like, he hasn't been this athletic in a minute. I feel like bro is just getting fed up. It's just hate at this point. He's just in this movie, like, he's just come full circle. He's full hater. He is full-blown hater, and that's another thing, like, that's always what Godzilla's personality's been. It's just D1 hater. Like, you know, I hate the way that you walk. I hate the way that you dress. I hate all that. That's Godzilla, bro. And, like, how he did Tiamat. Like, I am sad that he just kind of, like, took Tiamat, like, he took her to the gulag immediately, because, bro, Tiamat's cold. Tiamat is, like, 10 times cooler than Shimo. Like, bro, okay, yeah. Dude, he's just, in this film, like, he is tackling, he is slamming. Like, when he gets to his evolved form, like, I gotta say, I love me, like, this design. I love this design, bro, because he looks like an actual effective apex predator that can actually, like, say if he needs to chase after prey or chase after another predator, he can, and it makes sense. This movie was full to the brim with so much phenomenal action scenes. Trapper and Bernie really held the film down. Like, I was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me. That scene had me hyped. I genuinely wished, like, during the charge scene, like, they played some music. It's like some licensed music or something like that, like some like Metallica or Disturbed, like some like of that old rock. Like that's the aesthetic of this film and everything. But I would say my top like 5 scene. Number 5, Godzilla vs. Scylla. Awesome battle, quick, awesome battle, just pure brutality, tied up with the France scene. Number 4, I'm gonna have to do the like the reveal of Scar King and the battle inside his kingdom. Good pace, love the atmosphere. I love the music that the Kongs make when they pound their fists onto the ground. It's such like, it's so tribal, but you know what it shows? It shows drums, it shows instruments, it shows music. They're that intelligent, they can create music. Third favorite scene, man, I'm finna have to go with the Brazil battle. Third, Brazil. Second, as I'm thinking about it, bro, the Hollow Earth fight. The first favorite scene, Egypt fight. You can't go, there's just nothing wrong when you see Godzilla and Kong for real scrapping, man. And with that being said, I know I have a huge segment, so I'm gonna cut it back. I appreciate y'all tuning in to Space's video and listen to all of us talk about a franchise we all genuinely love, bro. Y'all wouldn't have me, Dagon, here without Godzilla. This character has influenced my life in so many ways. I ain't gonna get too personal. I appreciate you all. And with that being said, baby girl, Dagon's gonna get out of here.
Once again, Dagon, thank you for appearing in the video. It's greatly appreciated. Love working with you both in video form and in music. And now let's rate GXK. Let's rate it. Now, this film is no secret. It has been so divisive amongst not only the fans, but the critics and casuals alike, actually. And I get that. It is not for everyone. It is absolutely not for everyone. Not in the slightest. But I'm gonna stand on it. It is so for me. This movie was made for me. I do not care. It reeks of the Showa era films that I loved growing up. I remember watching Invasion of the Astro Monster on the way to like a family gathering in the back of my mom's car when I was like really young. And that is what watching this movie felt like. And condensing the human cast down to a small group that's the right call. And I hope we keep it that way going forward. We don't need ensembles. This to me is the first film in the series that feels like an actual sequel to the previous film. For obvious reasons. I mean, Adam Wingard returned to direct the movie. And since I didn't know that Dangerville had a Doug rating system, we're officially retiring that. I don't want to get the Dangerville copying accusations. I watch them every now and then, but I've never seen any of their reviews before. So the fact that they had the Doug rating, I was like. So today we are introducing the official Shimo rating system to the channel. Any kaiju movies going forward are going to be rated with the Shimo rating system. I was going to give it to Suko originally, since Suko, Doug, both small, funny little critters, but I think Shimo just deserves the spot more. I love Shimo. But anyways, I'm going to give Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire an 8.75 out of 10 Shimos. You may be asking, 8.75? What are you on about? It's for arbitrary reasons. It's mainly just because I prefer this film over King of the Monsters by just the slightest bit, but I definitely prefer Kong Skull Island over this. I just wanted there to be an actual point difference, so that made sense. Now, GXK and King of the Monsters were tied when I first saw the film, but after seeing it a few times, I gotta say I definitely prefer this film just a little bit more. Though I absolutely wish that I could just take King of the Monsters soundtrack and just slap it onto GXK. That would instantly make it like a 9 for me. Obviously GXK is not god tier cinema. It is not Scorsese or anything, but it doesn't have to be. It's a very, very flawed, very stupid film at the end of the day, but it's a very, very flawed and very stupid film that I enjoy. And just because it's flawed and stupid doesn't mean you're not allowed to enjoy it. This film does things that I personally have wanted out of these movies for a long time, and I can't hold that against it. And that's why I give it such a high rating. As always, like I said, these ratings for these movies are of my personal opinion. Don't take my personal opinion as like a critical bias or anything. That is just how I feel about the film. And like that is the latest MonsterVerse entry come and gone. That's insane. It just, The build up to it felt so long. By the time this review is out, either the film is about to come out on Blu-ray or it's going to be out on Blu-ray already, hence why I don't have a steelbook up there. My apologies for not getting this out sooner, y'all. Life happened. That's really all I can say. I've just been ridiculously busy. You can't help it. This is what it is. Nothing you can do about it. But anyways, I am so glad to say that the risks that this film took ultimately paid off, because as of last time I checked, it was like $2 million off from beating Kong Skull Island. I don't know if it's actually going to beat Kong Skull Island or not. It may by the time this video is out. It may not. But this has led to not only them announcing that this film's definitely going to get a sequel, but we're getting more MonsterVerse spin-offs with Monarch and everything. So it's safe to say that the MonsterVerse is in pretty safe hands for the time being. It seems like it's going to stick around for a while. And I'm glad, because it genuinely seemed like doom and gloom from like King of the Monsters to like recently. But we'll have to wait and see. Above all, I just hope Legendary makes the right call. I trust them at this point, because I tell you, for a while I didn't. For a while I was like, ugh, Legendary, ugh. But they have managed time and time again since GVK to surprise me, and I think they finally have found their stride. But yeah, with that concludes my thoughts on Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. I had such a fun time with this film. Like I said, made me feel like a kid again. But let me know what you all think in the comments below. Do you rock with GXK heavy like me? Did you think it's the worst thing you've ever seen and that it deserves to be burned in the fire? Or do you think it's mid? Let me know in the comments below. I'm open to any and all opinions. It's a safe space here. I plan to keep this MonsterVerse Madness series going indefinitely as time goes on with more MonsterVerse releases and everything. I do want to cover Monarch and the Skull Island show. It's going to be way later in the year because I got some stuff coming up. And maybe even some of the comics later on. I'll just have to do it when I have time, of course, like I said. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. And if you want to see more giant monster content, make sure to subscribe. And perhaps if you rock with some giant robots, stick around, because I am going to be covering all of the Transformers movies, live action, and maybe the 86 movie. I may do the 86 movie. I'm not sure. For sure the live action movies though, all 7 of the live action films. In preparation for Transformers 1 releasing in September, which to be honest, I'm not really looking forward to, but I'm a diehard Transformers fan as well, so I do want to cover those movies. Once again, huge thanks to Dagon for appearing in this video. I appreciate his input on these as always. I was going to feature some extra guests in this video, but it's long enough as is, man. And don't forget to stream From the Depths, mine and Dagon's GXK inspired song filled to the brim with Godzilla references. Put a lot of work into it, and I did a little edit of all 5 of the MonsterVerse films and some Monarch clips together. I'll put a card of it up on screen, and I'll link it at the end of the video with the end screen. And by the time this video is out, I will have also released a new song recently called Silly Boy, which also has some Godzilla references in it. The link to stream both of those songs will be down in the description below. But yeah, that's pretty much it. See y'all in the next one. Peace. Come together.